Welcome back, everybody. This is Thinking Clearly Part 2. We're going to talk about rhetoric and persuasion here. What are all the little tricks that people use to try and persuade us one way or the other? And it's going to be great to have these in your back pocket just to be aware. And let's see where it goes. So rhetoric is the use of language that doesn't add a new premise or anything to the argument. You're not adding more good reasons. It's all the little stuff that tries to influence us. It could be tone of voice or word usage. We'll go through a bunch of examples. Persuasion is the influence of us, right? Our beliefs, our attitudes, our behaviors. Persuasion is like a superpower. You know, you could use it for good or evil, but you want to know some persuasive techniques, at the very least, so that you're aware when they're being used against you. One of the easiest ways that I could influence you is by choosing my words very carefully. If I choose words that sound happy or sad, I'm going to influence your mood in either of those directions. So the first case is called a euphemism. EU, that's from the Greek that means happy, so like a happy word. I'm choosing a positive sounding word instead of a neutral or negative one. Dysphemism's just the opposite. Now I'm choosing a word that has a negative association with it. So in this example here, certified pre-owned, well, that sounds pretty good. So that would be a euphemism. Whereas used, people have this like weird association with, right? Oh, it's used. Oh, it must not be good. So just by choosing which words I use, I'm going to influence you one way or the other. Please don't underestimate the power of words. People are paid a lot of money all around the world to pick particular words that influence us a certain way. Let's look at some examples here. I mean, why do some news stations call some groups freedom fighters and others terrorists or rebels? Because they want us to be persuaded one way or the other. If they want us to like them, they'll call them freedom fighters. If they want us to hate them, they'll call them terrorists. Waste management sounds pretty good. Custodian, kind of neutral. Janitor, meh. Again, collateral damage. You'll hear governments use those words. Why don't they call them civilians or innocent, women and children? Well, if they want us to feel pity, they will. If they want us not to think that we are killing real people, they'll call it collateral damage. Same thing, elderly, senior citizens, you get the idea. Undocumented versus illegal, right? Which way do they want us to feel about these people? So going along with this is downplaying. If I use words like just or only, I'm actually making whatever I'm talking about seem less serious. Well, don't listen to Mr. Fuego, he's just another teacher. Okay, maybe I won't take him as serious. Or she's only 14, what could she possibly know? Oh, she's only 14? Yeah, you're probably right. Watch out for these words. Now, I will cover stereotypes in more depth in my prejudice lecture, but we should go through it here because it can be persuasive. A stereotype is this lazy thought or image about a group based on very little evidence, and we do it because we are lazy. We don't want to take the time and meet many, many, many people of a certain group and then base a judgment about them. We want to take the easy way out. We'll meet one or two, and we're like, oh, I bet they're all like that. That kind of lazy thinking gets us into a lot of trouble. So when I say, well, all lawyers are lying thieves, what am I basing that on? Again, it's probably lazy thinking. I probably met one or two, I didn't like them, so I'm jumping to this conclusion. Remember inductive reasoning where I take one little example and then I base my entire conclusion on it? That's what this is. We're generalizing to a whole group of people based on a couple examples. It's not smart and it gets us into a lot of trouble. Another very useful technique is satire, and we see it all over the internet, and we see it on television. If you just make fun of something, we tend to take it less seriously, right? But you can also make a point with satire. If this is going to be a Christian nation that doesn't help the poor, either we have to pretend that Jesus was just as selfish as we are, or we've got to acknowledge that he commanded us to love the poor and serve the needy without condition, and then just admit we don't want to do it. He's trying to make a point here, right? He's saying, look, you either act like a Christian and do good, or don't call yourself a Christian. So he's making a point by being funny. Now, sarcasm, ridicule, and just plain laughing can be used the same way as satire to try and make us, think less about a certain topic. But satire is usually making a point. It's almost making an argument. I mean, if you look at Colbert's quote, yeah, that was actually an argument. He's saying, don't be a hypocrite. Whereas you can just use laughter just to diminish what somebody's talking about, which gives comedians especially great power. They could persuade an entire room to think less about something just by getting the entire audience to laugh at that topic. But actually that doesn't make much sense logically, right? I mean, just because somebody laughs at it doesn't mean it's actually an argument or not. So we have to watch out for this. Another very effective trick is apple polishing or flattery. We know from psychological studies that this works. If you just give somebody a little bit of praise, they're more likely to believe you, and they're more likely to do whatever you want them to do. I know this is a wise and honest jury. That actually works. Well, you really are a great worker. I know you'll get this done on time. You're way more likely to actually do it on time now that they called you great. So again, watch out for that. I mean, don't always be cynical. Every compliment is not trying to persuade you, but some are. The next one is particularly important. A proof surrogate is when I say there is evidence for something, but I don't actually give the source of that evidence. This happens all the time on television. Leading experts say, or studies show that. I actually just did it in the last slide. I said, oh, there's these psych studies that showed blah, blah, blah. You should be like, what studies? And you should look into it further, right? Don't take somebody's word for it, especially when somebody just says studies show that. But I guarantee you most people don't look into it. Most people go, oh, I guess there's studies. That must be true. No. What studies? Where did they come from? Are they good studies? Are they crap studies? All of these things are very important. Please do not get persuaded when somebody just says, well, there's some studies that show that. You should question it further. The next one is even more insidious, and it's literally everywhere. Scare tactics or appeal to fear. Using fear or the threat of harm to make us believe something's true or to get us to do something. Whether that's wearing a certain outfit, right? You'd want to be caught in last season's stuff, or whether it's to believe whatever they're saying on the news, right? Fear is very good at persuading us. I'm going to get into this further. So let's get into a little bit of psychology here, okay? Now this is a very simplistic view of the brain, but it kind of works, okay? We have old parts of the brain, and that's our reptile brain. These things control just basic survival. Hey, keep breathing, keep the heart going, mating, temperature control, that kind of stuff. Survival. Our next brain is like our emotional brain, okay? This is where we can get emotionally hijacked. This is where a lot of memories are stored. And then you have the primate brain, or like the human brain. This is what really separates us from the rest of the animals. We can think about thinking. We can make, mental maps of things. Now what happens when we get scared is we stop using that awesome primate brain and we start reverting back to our reptilian brain because we think about survival. When you get scared, you go into survival mode. So yeah, even someone saying, oh my gosh, what are you wearing? Our lizard brain interprets that as, oh my gosh, I'm going to be kicked out of my tribe. That's no good. When I'm without my tribe, I die. So it freaks out. So that is a persuasive way of changing our habits. Just like when the news says, like what you don't know about your Cheez-Its may kill you tonight at 6. Your lizard brain lights up. Your human brain's like, well, who cares? That doesn't make any sense. But your lizard brain lights up. That starts taking over. So anytime we get scared, we drop into this reptilian mode and we're much more easier to be persuaded. Now, a classic technique is just to scapegoat or blame somebody else, right? I mean, it's a great distraction. The Democrats blame the Republicans blame the Democrats. Hitler blamed the Jews, the Hutu blamed the Tutsi. I mean, it worked, right, historically. If I can just distract you from what's going on, you won't pay attention to all the mistakes I'm making. It works, so watch out for this. Now, I have a kind of love-hate relationship with the argument from pity, because it does work, right? If I appeal to your compassion and make you feel really sad about something, I could persuade you to do all kinds of stuff. And, those could be good things, like donating to charity and saving starving children, right? But it's not technically an argument, right? It's not reason we're using something else. Like if I say, hey, come on, hire that guy. He's got 4 little kids at home, one who's got TB. Okay, those two things don't relate. I'm just trying to appeal to your sense of compassion to get you to agree. Guilt tripping is used pretty much the same way as appeal to pity. This time instead of pity, it's guilt. Okay. Oh, you should invite her. She never gets out of the house. Okay, that's not actually a legit argument. Right now I'm guilt tripping you into doing what I say. Now, peer pressure is actually one of the most powerful forces in the universe. I know we hear the words peer pressure and we think like after school special, but I'm telling you, man, our lizard brain wants to be a part of the tribe no matter what. Because again, being a part of the tribe equals safety. So peer pressure works really, really well. Come drink at the park with us, the whole school's going to be there. 1, we can see that that's not an argument. And 2, they're using the pressure of the tribe. Oh man, the whole school is going to be there? Again, if I'm not a part of the tribe, my lizard brain freaks out. Really pay attention to this. Now, the only real way to combat peer pressure is to have an ally, right? If you really don't want to go to the park, You need one other person at least to not go with you. Now you started your own little tribe, and your lizard brain can calm down. Here's another one, argument from popularity or common practice. It says, look, you should believe me because a whole bunch of other people are doing it. Everyone knows fluoride is good for you. That part, everyone knows, that's the argument from popularity. That's not a good argument. Doesn't everybody watch binge flicks? Doesn't everybody binge on Netflix every night? Well, no, right? That's an argument from common practice. What if everybody did? Does that still mean you should? No, it's not a good argument. So what is the faulty reasoning here? Well, yeah, it's more than possible that everybody could be wrong. I mean, here's a great example. Everybody thought the world was flat. Apparently that's coming back. But everybody thought, and they were wrong. So just because a whole bunch of people even practice something or believe it doesn't make it true. Now I'd like to finish up with talking about something I call irrelevant considerations. Especially when people are making arguments, what shouldn't we pay attention to, but we do? The first thing is appearance. I mean, who would you believe more and why? Sir Beckham or my Uncle Harry? Most people would gravitate towards the person in the nice suit. He looks put together, he looks educated. The guy on the right, yeah, he looks a little insane. But I'm telling you, there's actually no reasonable explanation why you should believe the person on the left more. What if the person on the right was making better arguments and you passed all of them up because of his appearance? Appearance is an irrelevant consideration when you're judging arguments. I really want to drive this home about appearance because we let this affect us way too much. We're very visual creatures as humans, so we do get persuaded very easily. Things like height, I mean, we'll believe a taller person more than a shorter person. Doesn't make any sense, but we do it. Weight, same thing. Attractiveness, this is called like the halo effect in psychology. We would believe somebody more attractive than somebody less attractive. Doesn't make sense, but we do it. We gotta pay attention to that. Age, this is another one. I mean, sometimes my 3-year-old says like the deepest thing and I have to go, huh? Oh yeah, that makes sense. I can't just judge it by, oh, she's young, what does she know, right? We do this to teenagers all the time. Oh, they're teenagers, what do they know? That doesn't make any sense. I know some very, very smart teens. Same thing with clothing, ethnicity. All of these are irrelevant when considering somebody's argument. The next one is body language. There's a great documentary on Discovery, I believe it was, called The Secrets of Body Language or something like that. It's amazing. I mean, everywhere from presidents to celebrities, these people get trained in how to use their body to persuade others to feel a certain way or to believe them. Eye contact, I mean, there's been a bunch of studies, check that out, that the longer the eye contact you make with somebody, the more persuasive you can be, up to a point. You actually don't want to go past like 80% or something like that, because then it starts to get creepy. But just little things like that. Facial expression, how that affects people. Posture, watch good speakers. Watch old Martin Luther King videos, you're going to see him standing really straight, or Obama videos. Confidence, the same thing. Watch a good speaker like Obama. Just look up a YouTube video and just watch. All of these things come together. He uses tons of these persuasive techniques, and all of the appearance and body language stuff are on par. He gets trained in this, man, and he is good. Next up is speech. Same idea. Tone and volume make a huge difference. People talk very quietly. It's not very persuasive. People who are extremely loud, they can either be very, you can think they're very confident, in which case they will be persuasive, or you can find them annoying, so you can find that balance. Level of interest, if the person who's speaking is showing a ton of interest in you, you are going to be more easily persuaded. Accent, look, I don't know why these things work, but they do, man. We used to get professors coming in from like England and stuff, and everyone would just be like enraptured by them. Why? Because of the accent. It wasn't really what he was saying, right? It was the accent. I don't know, it's something about him. Vocabulary. People can throw out all kinds of giant words, and it doesn't really do anything for their argument. It just makes them sound smart. So these are all irrelevant considerations. So what do I want you to do with all this information? Because it was a lot. I mean, I don't care if you remember what all the persuasive arguments and stuff are called. Who cares about that? But remember the ideas and try to become a little bit more aware when they're happening in people's arguments. I mean, how can we keep these things from affecting our judgments? Well, one thing we could do is think about them while we're hearing a speech and point them out to ourselves. Oh, this is what the person's saying. Okay, oh, but I see some of these techniques being used. You could read arguments. That would solve a lot of problems because that takes out all the irrelevant considerations except maybe, vocabulary size. And lastly, just think about the conclusions people are making and just focus. Be like, okay, what are they trying to say? Does that make sense? Maybe you have to close your eyes if it's Leo talking to you, but you can do this. So anytime you hear somebody's argument, just practice. Become aware, look for these little techniques that people are using, and then see if you can figure it out. Thanks so much for listening, guys. See you later.